Kirk Ferentz has had a long and controversial career as a football coach dating back to 1978 when he was the defensive coordinator for Worcester Academy. In 1981, he was hired as the University of Iowa's offensive line coach, working under Iowa coaching legend Hayden Fry. In his 8 years as Iowa's O-line coach, 11 of his players went on to get drafted into the NFL. In 1990, Ferentz moved to the University of Maine, where he took the role of head coach for 3 unsuccessful seasons. He then spent 5 years in the NFL as the O-line coach and offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens. In 1998, Hayden Fry announced his retirement as head coach of the Iowa football team, and the university started interviewing for replacements. To the surprise of many Hawkeye fans, Ferentz was hired over 2 assistant coaches at the time. Ferentz had a rough start to his head coaching career. In his first 2 seasons, he went for a total record of 4-19. In 2001, he was able to come back with a 7-5 season, and the Hawkeyes were able to win the Alamo Bowl.
He's got distance, and he's got the accuracy. Otherwise, Iowa's going to the record books as the victor. Throws it up very, very high into the end zone. It is tipped and intercepted by Iowa by Sanders.
Since that 2001 season, Ferentz has been a much more successful coach, with a total record of 131 wins and 73 losses. He's had 14 bowl appearances in the last 16 years. Because of his recent success, Ferentz is loved by Iowa fans and is respected as a coach nationwide, but he has still undergone lots of criticism from analysts and fans. These critics scrutinize Ferentz for scheduling easy, out-of-conference games and making the first quarter of each year a walk in the park for Iowa football teams.
Oh, Iowa? No soup for you. Iowa this year, they're going to play North Dakota State this weekend. Oh, FCS. Last week they played Iowa State, then Miami of Ohio. Well, next year they play, North Texas, Wyoming, Iowa State. Iowa, no soup for you. Shame on you. By the way, 2019, you've already got a couple of meatballs on the schedule, Miami of Ohio and Roast Beef Tech. But I looked at your 2019 schedule, Iowa. Instead of being the fake ID of college football, there's an opening. Why don't you get on the phone and play Clemson, play Florida State, play Alabama? Wisconsin will. Michigan will. Ohio State will. Wisconsin will. I'm looking at you, Iowa. I'm going to be on Iowa every Friday for the rest of my career.
Kirk Ferentz has also received ridicule for his paycheck. For years, he has been accused of underperforming while receiving millions from the university. In 2012, Ferentz had a buyout of almost $18 million on his contract. This made it unrealistic for Iowa to fire Ferentz. Instead, they were going to have to wait for his contract to expire. However, after the 2015 season, Iowa offered Ferentz a contract extension, promising him $4.5 million every year through the year 2026, or whenever he decides to retire. Ferentz is currently the 10th highest paid coach in college football, behind coaching legends like Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban, and Urban Meyer. Many say that Ferentz has not put together a career that is worthy of similar pay to these coaches. People instead took this contract extension as an overreaction to the very successful 2015 season, when Iowa went 12-2 and were invited to the Rose Bowl game. Critics were annoyed and thought the University of Iowa would have learned from previous years that high-paying, long-term coaching contracts were hazardous to their football program's success. But some say this contract is a good decision. University of Iowa Athletic Director Gary Barta says that they have been more than satisfied with Ferentz's work and want him to retire as a Hawkeye. It's hard to judge whether or not Kirk Ferentz can be considered a good coach. He has made mistakes, and there are very real claims that he is harming the team more than he is helping. By scheduling easy wins in the non-conference part of the season, he is inflating Iowa's end-of-season record. This leads to bowl games where they are overwhelmingly outmatched, resulting in terrible losses. Firing Ferentz has been discussed in the football community, but is almost certainly not going to happen. It is a crazy and expensive process trying to hire a new coach. College coaching salaries have steadily increased in the last decade. The average coach's salary is $1.64 million a year. but it is even more expensive to fire an old coach. If Iowa fired Ferentz right now, they would be required to pay $25 million to buy out his contract. Over and above all though, Ferentz has been successful as Iowa's head coach. He is liked by his players and staff, Iowa consistently makes bowl games, and his overall record speaks for itself. He also gives Iowa a sense of community and loyalty. Since 1979, there have been a total of 2 head coaches at Iowa, Kirk Ferentz and Hayden Fry. Ferentz has been able to become the face of the program, and his experience as a coach is hard to replace. So even though he is grossly overpaid and refuses to make a competitive schedule, Kirk Ferentz has had a positive impact on the University of Iowa, and Iowa fans should be happy that Ferentz will retire a Hawkeye.